Hi Chris, lovely to meet up with you and do some work on your game once again. Quick recap on the key points that we discussed. During the backswing, I'll just touch on this very briefly. Head starts to lift due to insufficient flexing of the lead knee. And we use the centre of the shoulder turn as an example. So centre of the shoulder turn, even though this is not strictly true, centre of the swing is the left shoulder, just from a visual standpoint. Centre of the shoulder turn, establishing a radius at setup. As we lift and the head came out the box during the backswing, the centre of the shoulder turn is raised, and therefore if the radius maintained its same condition or same size, we'd hit over the top of the golf ball. So during the downswing, we have to flex forward dramatically. So we're going up excessively during the backswing. We then have to work down more during the downswing before then either staying there, catching it deep, so the base of the arc can lower. So we were swinging in an arc when viewed from face on, and that arc has a certain radius. It's always moving, it's dynamic, it's always sort of changing condition. But this arc, if our goal is to hit the golf ball right at the base of this arc, that's fine, and that arc maintains its condition throughout the swing, or we can return it to that position at impact. However, if suddenly we dip too much and the arc lowers, the base of the arc now is deeper. It's still out in front of the golf ball, but it's deeper, and we would hit the ground. I'm just going to put a little line on there. We would hit the ground. Try that one again and make it a little bit more level. We would hit the ground rather than at the golf ball, stroke slightly in front of the golf ball. We'd hit the ground slightly behind the golf ball. Add to that a widening of the arc, which I'll come to shortly, and you're going to hit a lot of shots heavy. Therefore, you're going to feel like you're going to come up and out of the ground. So then you're going to introduce this sort of sudden springing up, potentially, through the hit. So too much movement vertically throughout the swing isn't making consistency easy. The big issue from an impact alignment point of view would be the position of the sweet spot relative to the hands. Historically, your sweet spot has been, so we go back to day one, very much out in front of the hands. Over the years, you've worked on moving this back in behind the hands or into a more inline position. But it's realistic to expect that in the real world, when we start playing poorly, the sweet spot will start to drift outwards to sort of almost towards your original position. And, how much it drifts out will directly affect the quality of strike and the direction if it drifts out more. So if it starts to get into sort of this position here, then I think most people can fully accept that the pull would be greater, the slice would be greater, etc., but maybe don't appreciate the effect it's going to have on the radius of your swing. So centre of the swing is the lead shoulder, obscured by your head obviously, but that would be about here. The distance from the centre of the swing to a club that is outside the hands excessively is greater than the radius if the club is slightly in behind the hands. So as the club moves outwards, as well as affecting the direction of the swing, it starts to affect the width of the arc. Now, if the arc is widening at that point in the swing, certain things will be happening with the lead wrist. So we're going to see your lead wrist sort of flexing a little bit too much, which is opening the face to the path, which is increasing your dynamic loft, which in turn is going to increase the spin rate on the golf ball. So that would explain why, as the club gets longer, it's harder to keep in. Ball's nearer to the left shoulder anyway. So harder to keep in, harder to keep the dynamic loft on the club that you need to hit the ball further. So suddenly your longer clubs don't really go any further than your shorter or mid irons. So realistically, we're going to move in the direction of this red arrow when we're playing badly. It's going to drift out. And what we said was that, you know, if it's out like it was this morning, so if it's in this position, that's fine and that'll function. There will become a point where the swing won't function. And what I mean by that is, let's say here now, the radius is getting too wide for you to compensate at speed consistently to produce the type of shot pattern that you want. So when we're in this position, we're fine with little cuts, little pulls. When we move more to this position, the pull gets a little bit bigger, slice gets a little bit more pronounced. But we're still playing, we're still all right, we're still functioning. Once we get to this point, we turn up and we just wonder who the hell, you know, whose arms have we got today? So we're always trying to control the sweet spots delivery. We accept that we're going to be a little bit outside the hands. That's your way of doing things. That's not a problem. It's sort of my way of doing things as well. So it's not a criticism, it's just an observation. But what we want to do is train in a manner that sort of moves the club in so that when we do go outside, we don't go outside too much. So all I've done here is get a bar on the ground, inch away from your golf club, toe end, angled in about 5 degrees. And straight away as you're hitting these shots, you can see that the sweet spot is in behind the hands. And importantly, this lead wrist for you is a little bit flatter. How much of that you add is... depends on what sort of shot pattern you want to hit, but as long as it's not, there's nothing crazy going on, you're fine. As you play these swings down, we can see that the swing on the left is coming into the ball steeper. It's coming in a little bit more from the outside. So on the right, we're shallower. We've got a flatter lead wrist, so the loft is better. Now we hit that one at the toe end, which is why the ball hooked a little bit on you. But all in all, shallower angle of attack, better loft on the golf club. It's good for extra distance with your longer clubs, so you start to get more of a consistent gap between 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, etc. But also from a consistency standpoint, the arc is wider here than it is here. So there's a widening of the radius, which now affects your ability to control the strike and the direction. So we're swinging a golf club, we're swinging in an arc, and if you want to be more consistent, really what you want to try and do ultimately is control the low point of the arc so that we're always getting the correct angle of attack for the shot that we're going to want to hit. And, you know, sometimes we want to hit down on it more than others. Sometimes we want to hit up a little bit more than others. But we've got to control the base of the arc. And what we've also got to do is control the direction of that arc. And that really, you know, if you're looking at a consistent player, whether it be a Lee Westwood, a Zach Johnson, a Dustin Johnson, a Jordan Spieth, that's what they have the ability to do in their own way. They control the base of the arc and the direction of the arc. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop me a line between now and then. Look forward to working with you next week and seeing some progression with the overall action. Well done.